I was recently invited to give a webinar on cash flow forecasting to the Tory Burch Foundation, and that presentation went really well. We talked through lots of different things about cash flow, a lot of what I've shared with you here on this channel, but I did walk through a very specific example of how to use cash flow forecasting for decision making. So the spreadsheet that I've given to you guys that is available in the description box below, it's totally free. It's my cash flow forecasting template. I created a whole scenario, a business, and then put all of those financials into the forecast and then walked through different decision-making scenarios of this tool, like with this example company. I am going to show you guys that clip because the feedback that I got was that it was very helpful and informative. So if that sounds interesting, please stay tuned. If you aren't already subscribed to the channel, I would like to invite you to subscribe. And I also want to make sure you know about our new sister channel, which is the Financial Clarity podcast channel. We've started a podcast here at Clara CFO Group, and it's all about helping deliver additional financial clarity to small business owners. So if that sounds interesting, follow on any of the podcast apps that you listen to podcasts on, but you can also check out the YouTube channel. We will put all of the links to that in the description box below. So without any further ado, I will give you this clip from the presentation that I gave to the Tory Burch Foundation. All right, enjoy. So we've created a business for the purposes of this presentation called Pure Joy Agency, and we're going to walk through some scenarios and decision making for Pure Joy. We've named it Pure Joy because we think your business should be pure joy and also be making you a profit and having lots of cash come into your business. So this business is a digital marketing agency. And the revenue model that we've put together here is a retainer model. So what that means is our clients in this business are going to be paying us a set amount every single month. We really like this kind of model. It definitely helps with cash flow. And kind of for giving a simple example for you guys, I think this is helpful. They have 10 employees, and they also have a varying amount of contract labor, which is pretty common in a digital marketing agency. We've also got a repayment of a $75,000 EIDL loan. There's one owner. It's an LLC, taxed as an S-Corporation. And it's got a $1.5 million revenue target. And right now they have a physical location that is rented. So that gives you like a little bit of a lay of the land for this, because I'm going to go in and show you what a cash flow forecast could look like for a business like this. Okay. And then I am going to probably need to like zoom in and out a little bit. I'm going to move my things around here so I can see everything. All right. So to show you what that looks like, we have this retainer client income. I've customized this over here. And I've also added in this column here to show you the assumptions that I made to come up with the forecast. Now, I've assumed everything here because I've made this business up from scratch. But to kind of show you where I supported the numbers from, we created a retainer clients tab here where we have our business names and then our monthly retainer for each client. And this is going to help us, project revenue out into the future. And then we also have our employee costs for payroll. So we have our employees here with salaries, taxes, benefits, fully loaded cost, and then a monthly cost of each employee. So that's coming into our payroll cost here. But we've put in some numbers here, trying to look at, what type of business we're looking at. We threw in some numbers. They have general office expenses and software. I recommend for a cash flow forecast to not go nitty gritty to every single line item on your P&L, but rather maybe to summarize it a little bit more to like higher level groupings. So office expenses probably includes lots of different things like meals and, office supplies and maybe a couple other, little things here and there. But I find you could take a lot of time projecting out each little line item like that. And sometimes it's diminishing returns on that time. So in that situation, we try to just kind of do more high level forecasting. Because remember with a forecast is that you're trying to get directionally correct. It's not going to be perfect. So if your forecast is correct down to the penny or down to the dollar in 5, 6, 12 months from now, you probably just got really lucky. It's not, probably doesn't have anything to do with exactly the quality of the forecasting, but more just the luck of everything falling into place the way that it should. So just keep in mind that we're trying to get close, and we're going to get much closer by doing this exercise rather than getting to a place where, you're not doing anything. So we definitely want to do something rather than nothing here. So I'm just going through here. We have conference expenses and marketing, and then we have the debt repayment here. And then we've got a line item for tax savings, and you'll see there's a little bit of negative and positive. And then we have an owner's draw amount of $7,500 every single month. Okay. With this, you can see here that they've got some months where they're going into the negative. So they're spending more, and it really has to do with them going to these big conferences where they're spending a lot of money to do that. And then you can see their cash at the end of the period down here. Now they started with 50,000 at the beginning of August, and at the end of August, they were down to 33 because of their big spending on the conferences. And they don't want their cash to go below $40,000. Because basically they've decided that's about, one payroll run for them is 36,000. And so they've decided that they never want to go below that to where they might run into not being able to make payroll. Now, if we were to look at the end of the next year right now, they're only going to have $36,000 in their bank at the end of, 16 months from now, 15 months from now. That is not what they want. They have a goal of making $100,000 in cash, or having $100,000 in cash by the end of December 2024. And so if we were to lay out all of this right now, we have to say, hey, that's not going to get you there. What you're doing right now is not going to get you to the goal that you want. And to layer on top of that, they don't want to borrow any additional money because they're working on paying down their debt. And then they also want the owner here to be paid $10,000 a month rather than $7,500 starting in January of 2024. Okay. So we want to say, how can we make that happen? And this is where we can start pulling little strings, and we can start playing with this forecast, and we can say, okay, what can we do right now to make that goal? So the first thing I would say is we need to look at some of our expenses and say, is there something that we could cut? Because this client has told me that, they feel like their revenue is pretty solid. They don't think they're going to lose any clients right now. So if they just want to have more money in the bank, the first thing we can look at doing is cutting some expenses. So we had a conversation, and we decided that actually a couple of these conferences are not really necessary when we're not out doing business development. And so we're going to take out the December, and we're going to take out August. And so from there, we've said, hey, that does get us a little bit closer to our goal, but keeping in mind that the business owner actually wants to get paid more. So they actually want to get paid $10,000 a month rather than $7,500. So that spends money. We got some money back by removing the conferences, but then we spend money by paying the owner more money here. So that brings us back down to $46,000. So again, that's not where we want to be. And so we could, have a conversation with the business owner and say, hey, do you really want to go up to 10? But they say, yes, we really need to. And we really want to because we've been working really hard and we should be paid $10,000 a month. Okay, fine. Where else can we cut? What we've looked at is looking at the marketing budget was pretty high at 10% of their total revenue. And then we really decided to look at it and dig deep and find some additional savings here. So we've realized that we could actually cut the marketing budget in half, especially if they're pretty happy with their clients and are not really needing to do a lot of extra, business development and marketing right now. So if we're able to cut that in half, we have come up with a projected cash balance of $131 by the end of December 2024. So this scenario is great. I mean, in this scenario, we're saying, hey, we're building up that cash balance. We're achieving the goals of the business owner by having them getting paid more. They haven't taken on any more debts. And this is like, if we can maintain this scenario, we will hit our targets. Okay. And that gives us a little bit of a buffer because, there might be some additional funds we need to spend here and there that might, we've got an extra $31,000 and we would still be reaching our target by the end of December 2024. So that's all great, fine and dandy. That's in the perfect scenario that we keep all of our clients and everything. But let's give scenario 2. And that's when you get the news that you've lost a client. So I think we've all been there where maybe we thought a sale was coming in or we thought a client was, good to go. And then it didn't happen or a proposal didn't go through or something. And, or you lose a client. Now that's happened to everybody who's been in business for any point in time where a sale you think you're going to get, you don't get. So I think it's realistic to kind of play through this scenario. So let's say that the largest client here, Monsters Inc. I just got all my fictional business names. Monsters Inc. as of, gave notice in December of 2023. And then in just January of 2024, they decided to go with a different company. So we're actually going to remove all that revenue from the business. So ouch, that hurts. Like that's a lot of money to not be coming into the business. With that, that's going to flow through to our revenue line item here. You can see that the revenue went down from 125 to 104. And with that, it's definitely going to be affecting our cash flow. So let's look down here and we can see, ooh, yikes. We've got all this red. We've got a couple months here of like losing money. And then by April of 2024, we're actually way below our target cash of 40,000. And then by basically July of 2024, we're going to have to borrow money or we're going to be in a negative cash situation. Okay. So this is another reason why the cash flow forecast is giving us lots of great insights because we can see right away, okay, we found out in December of 2023 that we lost that client and we can put it into our forecast. And I can say, wow, okay, if we don't do something really dramatic, we're going to be having to borrow close to $60,000 just to break even by the end of the year. Okay. And we have a whole year to do something about it. So that's where I get really excited about the cash flow forecasting is that, we have time to actually make things happen. And it doesn't have to be like, this huge dramatic thing where we find out something and then, we're just worried. What this actually gives us time to do is it says, okay, we actually can, start making changes right now. So one of the things that I would look at doing right away would be to look at our labor. So if we lost a really big client, that probably means some people aren't busy anymore. And the first thing I would look at doing is maybe not, instead of looking at our payroll people, because those are people we've invested in, they're people that we want to keep on the team. We have all A players around us. We don't want to lose any of those employees. The first thing we would potentially do is think, look what we could bring in-house with these subcontractors. And maybe we're able to take this down to something like $1,000 per month rather than this variable amount here and there. So we're going to take on that additional labor for our team that has freed up capacity. And so that's going to help us a little bit. That buys us a little bit of time. We actually don't run out of cash until November of 2024. So pretty good, but we're still not reaching our goals here. With that, kind of looking over at our scenarios again. So we've removed our subcontractor labor. And then we've decided, you know what? We still have labor capacity in our team. We really need to go out and get a new client. So if in December of 2023, let's say by March of 2024, you can go and get a new client. But, are you going to go and get another big fish as big as the one that you just lost? Potentially not. So let's go ahead and say like you get a new client and their new client is about $100,000. And it starts in March of 2024. Okay. So March of 2024, you have a new client and that's going to help you increase your revenue. So that's great. Okay. Still not back to the revenue where we were at 130 per month, but it does help. Let's go back and look at our cash balance. okay, you know what? We're actually not, we're not below any of the cash, or we're not below our $40,000 amount that we're saying, hey, we want to stay above $40,000. So with that, we've got a couple other things we can do to say, okay, we've lost this client here and we've gained a new client. Maybe because we've lost that client, we really need to have a frank discussion with the owner to say, you know what, maybe now is not the right time to take your $10,000 draw. Just since the profit isn't there the way that we want it to, we need to be realistic. And unless we can get and replace more services or, more work, we're not going to be able to do that $10,000 draw. Okay. So now we've gotten the client back up to $75,000 in cash by the end of the time. Oh, sorry. And then with that, we can also look at, get to my right screen here, 75,000. We're still short by about 25,000. So in this case, we're going to look at how we can maybe shave some costs off of our conferences, knowing that now we maybe can think about, maybe we only need 2 people to go to this conference instead of the 5 that we have planned. We're going to take that down to $10,000 per conference rather than 25. Okay. And this would be internal discussions that we have with the business owner. This is not necessarily, saying that this is the right decision in this moment, but this is why you talk it over with your advisors and you think about strategically, where's the right place to put your money? Because there's going to be trade-offs with any kind of decision like this. There's going to be times where it makes sense to really invest in conferences. And there's going to be times where maybe it makes sense to pull back and really focus on maybe other types of networking or other types of business development. So look at, here we are. With all of these things, we're able to still hit our target of, we could probably shave a few dollars off here and there and make sure that we have that cash at the end of 2024 by, even being able to weather something like your largest client going away. Okay. So, that largest client was $250,000 in the year. And we were able to still figure out the things that we needed to do and the strings that we needed to pull in order to get to this, this dollar amount. So I think all of that is a really good example of things that we could be doing to help kind of look into the future and figure out what we need to do. Now, we also have here, employees. So I didn't actually play with any of the employees in this scenario, but, let's say that you did have an employee potentially need to be let go. So you could also look at that and say, okay, what happens when labor cost goes down? And, what would happen in that situation? You could look at that, like if there was one employee that was serving that really large customer and you weren't able to utilize them in any other kind of way, you could also look at the cost of, what would it look like to remove that payroll off of your whole payroll expenses. With people, we really want to be really careful before we just cut people because we think that, we can't, that we don't need them right now. We want to think about, the bigger cost of losing employees. And whenever you lose an employee, the cost to rehire and retrain someone can be about, 50% of somebody's annual salary. So if you think that you could just go and get another client rather than letting somebody go, definitely think through that decision before you just cut employees left and right, just from a human perspective, but also from a financial perspective. Okay, so those are some scenarios of how you can use a cash flow forecast. And so I'm sure there'll be a few questions, but that gives you a really good sense of, from a management perspective, what types of things you could be looking at here in order to use a cash flow forecast to your benefit and see into the future. Okay, so I hope that was helpful to you. Seeing it being used, seeing this cash flow forecasting template being used in real life is sometimes very helpful. So you can think about, okay, how can I do this for my own business? And what are those scenarios that would potentially affect cash flow? So there are a gazillion other scenarios that could be in play, but that's how you can kind of understand taking a scenario and tweaking it depending on what's happening in the future. All right, here to empower you with tools and information to help your business thrive and be more successful. If this has been at all helpful to you, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with somebody else that you think might also be helped by this type of information, which is probably any small business owner you may know. So if you want to share it with them, that would be super awesome. Spread the word about this channel and the work that we're doing here. All right, well, thank you guys for being here, and I'll see you next time.